And hello there. Welcome to the Daily Templar Report with me, Jim Dowson, your guest presenter. And look who I have. I've got Mr. Griffin here. There's a surprise for you. We have secreted ourselves in a secure location in a foreign land. And it is a foreign land, let me tell you. We're only two white guys in the place. But anyway, we're here and you are all welcome. God bless each and every one of you for joining us. And I don't have a wee passage reading today because there was a bit of panic trying to get this organised, and the electricity supplies blew up, almost electrocuted me. Did you notice
it nearly did. And we have found a Bible of sorts in a drawer, but of course it's some kind of heretical new version, so we ain't using it.
I won't use it, and I've left mine elsewhere, so there we go. But remember this, it says in a good book, the wicked flee when no man pursueth. Remember that. And that is why the lefties in Britain and America, especially America right now, are running about like headless chickens, because they're wicked. And the wicked flee when no man pursueth, but the righteous are as bold as lions. And that's the key. That's why we're out in the streets, the big guy with the horns, all these people. But the Reds are always imagining plots and schemes, and they think, well, Biden even mentioned the threat from the far right, white supremacists, in his speech.
Oh, yeah.
What's he talking about? You know, the only people I've seen rampage, and I'm sure you've seen the same thing, through the American cities and burning them down, is BLM.
Yeah, and Antifa.
And Antifa. Fair. And the thing is, there was 5 people died at the Capitol, and 3 of them were protesters.
No,
Four
protesters.
4 of them were protesters. Can you imagine the 4 people in a BLM or an Antifa in Oregon when they're wrecking the town and wrecking the city? They just took over that place. Imagine if 4 of them had been killed by the cops. I don't think there'd be a paper in the world that didn't have that front page. No, even now, 2 weeks later.
And if the cops said, and the medical authorities said, oh, they just happened to die.
Well, COVID.
It's a cover-up.
Yeah,
it's a huge cover-up. They were killed by police brutality, obviously. So,
it's quite shocking. But you see, folks, this is what you're up against. And I keep getting folk. There was a guy emailed me the other day. He's probably watching this now, so this is for you. But I'm going to do my best. But remember, I'm an Ulster Scot, so I'm going to try and be non-abusive and non-offensive. What do you reckon?
I'll believe it if I see it.
I'll try it. But
I'll give you marks out of 10.
Okay, here we go. He said, I can't believe I just watched the Templar Report and he said, don't believe in free speech. Surely that's the core of the Templars, the Templar Order. When does that? No, the core of the Templar Order is to defend the faith and the faithful by means of arms if necessary. That's why we were formed. We were only formed as an NGO free speech advocate. I don't know what planet you're living on. That's not what the Templars are about. You know, it's not about that. And again, I've explained the free speech thing. Do you want to give the right to jihadis to preach jihad in Times Square, or paedophiles to stand in the Washington Capitol stairs and preach paedophilia? You know, and they say, well, obviously not that. Well, you ain't free speech then. You're either 100% anybody can say anything, or it has to be monitored. And we had blasphemy laws, which I agree with. I think the blasphemy laws should be back. If you defame Christ Jesus, his blessed mother, or anybody else, it should be a criminal offence. What's wrong with that? So no, I don't believe in free speech. Never did. And nobody does. It is a fairy tale. And I think the only people who really, when they sit down and really think about it, unless you're riding a unicorn and leaping over rainbow hurdles, you understand what I'm saying. What do you think? Was that reasonable?
I think that was very reasonable.
I thought so.
I think being in England is rubbing off on you.
I think it's maybe tempered me down a wee bit, you know. But, you know, it's but to say the core issue of why the Templars were formed was free speech is just ludicrous, isn't it? Yeah. Mad, it's crazy. Yeah. No, we're a fighting Christian order who are there to defend the faith and the faithful. That's it. That's enough. Is it not enough? Good gracious. So I just want to bring you a couple of stories today. I know Rick's got one here. Priti Patel.
She's not pretty at all.
She's not pretty at all, not the slightest. But she's the Home Secretary? Home Secretary of Britain.
She identifies as Home Secretary.
She identifies as Home Secretary this week. Could be a fridge or some other contraption next week. But she's now talking about, although the R factor, whatever that means, it means basically nobody's getting the COVID anymore, but she's still got locked down and she's wanting to up it to everybody putting themselves basically in jail for 10 days and backing it up by being electronically tagged. Now, is that not just for housebreakers, drug addicts, drug dealers, gangbangers?
Convicted criminals who are let out early to prowl the streets, to stop them prowling a bit.
Yes.
They wear a tag. But even the thing is, Jim, from the very start, the minute they started using the phrase lockdown, that is a prison term.
Yeah.
You lock down prisoners to punish them.
Yeah.
So
that's what's happening in the whole of Britain. And it's a bizarre thing. You go to hotels and basically we're having to move hotels constantly. There's nobody in them, there's no staff. It's just there's no food. There's no food, folks. It's unbelievable. I mean, I mean, Hitler bombed London. The shops were open the next day. The pubs were open the same day. I don't know what's going on. It's really frightening, but that's what she's at. Priti Patel's doing that. And the other story I've got here is Biden, Joe Biden. Have we got pictures, Techie brother? I don't know. Oh, yes, there he is. Creepy Joe.
Creepy Joe. Creepy
no, I can't. People keep saying he sniffs things, right? I can't say much. I'm not going there, right? We're just going to ignore that. But there he is. And apart from overturning all the good work President Trump done, you notice I still call him President Trump because somebody who's beat by nefarious means is a bit dodgy. But anyway, Biden, he now has passed a law that trans people, i.e. men who identify as women, can take part in female sports. Now, obviously, you're sensible people. You know what that means. It means women ain't going to win nothing anymore, ever again. What, is a woman going to outbox a man? Is a woman going to out-powerlift a man? Is a woman going to throw a spear further than a man? So, hey, you want that? You have it. But mark my words, a year's time, all the feminists will be going mad. Well,
so they're already beginning to.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. At the Labour Party conference a couple of years ago, they'd actually put security men down the middle of the hall because the feminists were kicking off with the trans, and they were actually fighting. Company blows. They were all getting. It was like a soccer match. You know, one of these European soccer. They're all getting into each other because the feminists are saying this is outrageous.
Which people is an example of what I was speaking about yesterday and the day before about how revolutionaries, as soon as they got their revolution, start falling out amongst themselves.
Yeah.
And you've got this, it used to be LGBT in one, and you've now got a distinct LGB, and T is separate because the lesbians particularly hate the T's.
Yeah.
And the T's being even madder are even madder than the others, not surprisingly. And yeah, it's already a fighting fisticuffs war.
Yeah.
Between them. Pretty nasty stuff.
Well, the Bible says in the end days men will believe lies, and God will send them strong delusions that they may believe lies, and they would even fool if it was possible, the elect. But we know it's not possible, so thank God for that. But God will send people strong delusions, and I actually think that's what's going on. I think God, remember the famous speech, I don't know if it was Homer or some Paul print, before God destroys a people, he first makes them mad.
Whom the gods would destroy, they first make mad. Yes.
There you go. So he went to Cambridge University. See, I went to Airdrie Academy Comprehensive School.
Yeah.
So, but that's it.
And he's got a huge chip on his shoulder. But fortunately, because he's Scottish, he's got one on the other shoulder, so Jimmy
balances me out. But yes, this is. I think God has maybe been merciful to these people. He's making them start raving bonkers because what's coming, they wouldn't take to very well indeed. So, Nick, what story have you got there?
I've got an interesting story, but just one thing, Jim, just to set people's minds at rest.
Yes.
The question of you sniffing things and Joe Biden sniffing, there is a difference.
Yes.
Because Jim sniffs Bibles.
Yes.
Joe Biden sniffs little girls.
I don't sniff little girls.
Dodgy.
That's a fact.
Dodgy. Right. What I came across, Jim, was...
Hold on, I sniff babies.
That's
the smell of a wee baby. Oh, it's wonderful. You've but a wee baby, there's nothing cuter than a wee baby.
I have really no interest in babies till about 18 months or 2 years old, then they suddenly get human.
Yeah.
Before that, they're just slightly creepy and inconvenient.
Well,
when my own were really little, yes, I love them, but generally, and even the grandchildren now, no, take it away, bring it back when it's 18 months old and toddler. then they're great. So, what have I got? Yeah, a story again out of the USA, which, because I've been travelling, I saw before I left, and I just had a look online just before we went on air to find it exactly, and it's disappeared from where I found it. So it's one of the censorship things, I think. But I don't know if it's in news in the States. It certainly doesn't seem to be here. That the National Guard, who you'll remember in the couple of days leading up to the fake inauguration, were sleeping all over the White House, Capitol Hill, and so on. There were pictures of them sleeping just below famous portraits and all the rest. Huge overkill. So it was done either out of a crazed fear or as a propaganda thing. But either way, they were being... Here we go.
Good picture.
Thank you, Techie Guy. Either way, they were being used as propaganda points. And they were complaining today that as soon as it's over, I think they've just about got a thank you, but then they've been thrown out and they haven't yet got their transport to take them home. So they are now basically camping out in Washington, D.C. And I tell you, Washington, D.C. at this time of year is damn cold.
They're outside, there's no tents.
They're outside, no tents, no nothing, and they are complaining bitterly that the politicians use them, and now once they've finished no use, they throw them away. Well, that is an object lesson
shocking
to them. They shouldn't have been there. When they were ordered to go there, they should have said, no, we are not going to protect an elite which has stolen an election and has murdered our constitution and our country, we're not going to be there.
Yeah.
And if they're threatened with mutiny laws or whatever, well, they can all say, well, we got COVID, I can't come.
Yeah.
But they took part in that charade.
No social distancing.
No social distancing. And now all of a sudden they're starting to pay the price. Incredible. And it's a great shame for them, but it's perhaps a wake-up call for some of them.
I mean, the thing is, them boys are wearing normal battle fatigues. They're not wearing Arctic clothing. And they're sleeping outside in Washington, D.C., which has got to be minus goodness knows what. And it's really wet there. It looks damp and wet. There's no tents. There's no bivouac. They don't even get a bivouac. They're lying in sleeping bags in their normal combat gear, no Arctic stuff. Can you imagine, ladies and gentlemen, just think of that if that was your son. He's lying out, -6, 7, during the night, maybe -10 or something, in the pouring rain or sleet or snow, in a normal sleeping bag, not Arctic kit. It's not Special Forces Arctic kit, in a normal uniform. He'll be soaked to the skin. Look at this. Look at this. Yeah. This is like a scene. This is like somebody. Remember the poor Algies when we beat them up in the Falklands? They were all lying about like that in the freezing the cold. Terrible.
I was at the minute when I saw it. To be slightly controversial, it reminded me of. I've only ever seen one picture of it because it's heavily censored. But that is how the American criminal elite and the French, at the end of the Second World War, that's how they murdered up to 1 million German prisoners of war. They just shut them in camps and left them out in the autumn rain to die of hypothermia and starvation.
It's terrible. The same thing happened with the Covenanters, who went on to be the first slaves in America. That was the ones that survived, because what they'd done is they locked them up in an open prison with no roofs during the winter. Just locked them. Right. Left them.
Gotcha. On air, right, this is it. History lesson, Mr. Dowson. The first slaves in America were royalist prisoners of war who were sent there at the end of the English Civil War. This was 30, 40 years before the Scottish Covenants were sent. English POWs were sent by Cromwell over to the West Indies as slaves. So the English were the first slaves. Yes. The Scots were the second. And the Irish as well.
But the English royalists, the best place, send them out there, get rid of them, get a shot at them. But no, but this is what happened to people. People leave folk outside and just let the elements. And if you live in Northern Europe, listen, you don't live too long without heat. It's as simple as that. And it's an awful, horrible way, because these people in the old days had their babies. I mean, these soldiers are grown men, but I can assure you that's no easy gig. And them guys are going to have illnesses. They're going to have maybe even COVID, but they may have a wee touch of the frostbite. They could have circulatory problems. But I'll tell you what, they won't forget it. That's going to be an experience that lives with them boys for a long time. So if Biden thinks he can rely on them again, so maybe a good thing. Right, what else have we got? Now, I was going to talk today, and I want to talk more about, because we've sort of stalled a wee bit, not in the building. The building fund's doing okay. Thank you very much, everybody, for keeping going. And we're really cracking on to that now. And hopefully the weather will start changing a bit. But the Magdalen Chapel, which is the main thing. You know, that isn't it, but it's going to be, that's what it's going to roughly be, looking like the exact same as that, the Magdalen Chapel. And of course, there's a big certificate that goes when, you know, there's the certificate that your family get, and that's massive. That's a huge big A3 done in parchment paper that your family loved ones can frame. You can get copies of them if they want more than one, and get them up on the wall in a big frame. It's when you die. And I know some people don't like talking about it. I think that's the problem. A lot of the serious seasoned Templars already booked themselves in, but a lot of folk in the West now, they don't talk about death, do they? It's something we all know what's going to happen, but nobody does a thing about it. Don't mention it. Well, I'm Scotch-Irish. That's all we talk about. Is somebody dead. Who's dead? That's all we're obsessed with death. But it's part of our culture. But listen, we need to talk about it, because when people die, what's going to happen to your bones? You know that Purcell, may my weary bones cause me no trouble. Will your bones cause trouble? Because where are you going to go? And where you're going now, if you're in an ethnically diverse area, it could be completely overrun 10, 15, 20 years. You know, if you ever seen places it's overrun, the first place that goes is the graveyards. Right?
Yes,
we've seen it.
Yes, yep.
We've seen it. Graveyards, dug up, burned up, people's bones and things lying all over the place. I don't want that to happen to me or anybody I love or care for. So the Magdalen Chapel is secure. It's in a completely fanatical Christian area of Ireland. It's surrounded for miles by other fanatical, crazy Christians. Nobody's getting near it. And it's built, you know, the building itself dates back 1,000 years. It's beautiful. The walls are 3 foot thick. And that's the place to go. Now, it's a bit of money. It's like $1,119 payable over a year. But you know places down in Wales, they're
Yeah,
charging
so
how much?
I was looking. There's a couple of places in England where slightly new agey people
Hippies.
have built well hippies with money, than farmers and so on, diversifying out of agriculture because that's being killed off by the global elite. So they've built sort of stone burial chambers. They're actually rather beautiful.
Yeah, they're nice.
They're based on the chambers of Newgrange and so on, Neolithic structures,
Celtic stuff,
and they've got niches inside where people's urns can be put, and they charge double.
Yeah,
what the Templars are charging for 99 years, or they charge. I think it was about one of them sold at £800 for a year.
Yeah, that's the same price as us in dollars.
Then after that, you're thrown out under a tree if you pay extra for the tree. It's you have to pay if you're going to leave someone's ashes in the crematorium in the garden and so on. Yeah. It's the way it is. So obviously you can have your ashes taken away, and your family can do what they want with them, and it's for free. But if you want somewhere where it's really somewhere that should be remembered, and as you said before, somewhere where people can come to in generations to come, then you wouldn't get this for anything like this price.
No, and you're not there for 99 years. You're there until the Lord returns, and that's as simple as that. And remember, it's an evangelical tool as well, because your great-great-grandson, great-great-granddaughter going there to the Templar place, they'll be staying in the Priory. They'll be meeting other people whose great-great-grandparents or great-grandfather was in the Templar, so they'll begin to talk to each other. They're in a very holy environment. They're in the chapter house, the great book of life. They're reading through that. Then they get to the chapel. They can handle your remains in the box and all that. So all of that's an evangelising thing. And you can be rest assured the brothers who are there at that time, they'll be on them. If they get in there and they're a bit unsure about Christianity or the faith, they don't really know what it means, they ain't going to leave out a Priory without being completely informed on the merits of seeking Christ while he may be found. So it's a really good thing. And I know the Techie brother, if he can put up a link to the Magdalen Chapel, we had a big rush of people at the beginning, but it's tailing off, and we want more people in there. We've got room for maybe, I'd say there's no shortage of room at the moment, but we really want it done. And remember this also, it's a quid pro quo. That's what's paying mainly for the whole operation. So when people pay into that, they're actually paying for the Gothic windows of the chapel, the new floor, the new roof, and all the stuff that goes along with it. That's what they're paying for. So it helps us. It pays for that chapel. I mean, when was the last time you were involved in paying for a Templar church being constructed? The first one I may add in Britain anyway for 900 years. The first one for 900 years.
It's really quite something. Just struck me, Jim. I assume that when there's a ceremony service with someone's ashes, I assume that will be filmed.
Yes, videoed, yes.
So, I mean, can you imagine that if your great-great-grandfather had done this, sort of sometime shortly after the American Civil War type date, before the Industrial Revolution really totally transformed Britain, if they'd had video at the time, then you'd now be able to see that.
Amazing.
Which would be just an amazing thing, wouldn't it?
And buried with full, or placed in the above the altar, in full Templar military honours. So it'll be a full Templar funeral type thing. So there'll be chanting, there'll be candles, it'll be all a bit mystical and all the rest of it. But they can watch that. And you can watch it if your father or something's passed away. It's something you can go and watch every now and again, see the lovely service involved in that. So please get yourself signed up to the Magdalen Chapel for our chapel for the glorious dead, and get yourself booked in there. Don't be superstitious. I don't want to talk about it because it might happen to me. I want to tell you something, folks. I can say here now categorically, you will die, as will I, as is appointed by God. So get yourself organised. You don't want your wife or your kids running about, don't know what to do with you, what do you do with this Templar stuff, because we get it all the time. And they phone us up, what have I got to do with all this stuff? Leave clear instructions, please, and get yourself in the Magdalen Chapel. Yeah. Well, that's about all for me, because we're doing this. It's a short show tonight because we have meetings with other brethren that have managed to sneak out from their respective places, and we have to be talking about what's going on this year and what's leading up to 2020. I don't know where year are we in.
We're in 2021 at the moment.
Yeah, 2021. So, but it's not easy. We're all having to sneak about like we're like naughty schoolboys. It's ridiculous. You'd think the Martians had landed. It's like that. Remember the hoax, the big hoax.
H.G. Wells.
H.G. Wells.
War of the Worlds.
This is what it feels like. What have they sneak about like naughty schoolboys? But there we go. Have you anything else you've got there, Mr. Griffin?
Don't let the teachers catch you out of class. Very, very, very good. Only really just on that, just a minor thought. Having driven here several hundred miles, the traffic is the same as it's always been. Now, the first lockdown, the roads were dead.
Yeah.
And this time, it tells me that really nobody believes it. See, so many people now. More people are now wearing masks.
Yeah.
I think because they're sort of afraid otherwise they're going to be accused of, making it all go on longer. But more and more people are wearing their mask up to here.
Typhoid.
So no one is really fussed about this, which is grand. But here in Britain, it's going to go on for some months yet, and they're talking more and more about the new strains, the mutant strain. No, this is what happens with flu. That's why you have to have a flu jab every year. And the flu jab that you get is basically the previous year's flu and the one before that, and the one that came out of Australia, because they're just ahead of us. And it sort of does a bit of a job. So having established the fact that we have to have a vaccine for this one, we will have to have a vaccine for this every single year. That's just part of it. And that, of course, makes enormous money for Big Pharma.
Of course.
And it's all yet more excuses for all sorts of control on us. And that's what's going on.
I'm not having it.
And it's coming to America big
time. You're getting it, Biden's. You'll be on it. But I'm not having it, so there you go. Well, listen, that's all we've got time for. I don't even know if we're still live.
We're frozen. That's it.
We're back again. Okay, well, listen, that's all we've got time for. Thank you for taking the time. Sorry we didn't have a brilliant show for you, but as I say, there's other big things going on. But remember, I'll see you, what day is it today? Friday. See you, God willing, on Sunday, the Templar service. Please invite your family and friends and come in and join us.
And Monday, I believe, is the 27th. 27th is a very special day if you're Scottish.
26th.
26th, it's the 27th this year, is it not?
No, 26th of January is Burns Day.
All right, well, it's a Sunday, I believe. Yep. So you better, on Monday, Jim will be there, as instructed by me several weeks ago, and as he agreed, properly dressed as a Scotsman.
Yes, I love the kilt.
A sight to see.
Okay, and that'll be me. So I'll see you, God willing, on Sunday. Remember, until then, stick close to God. You won't go far wrong. Do us all.